Oh, hello there. Yes, well, that was VE Day done and dusted, wasn't it? Yes. Time for looking backwards to when we defeated the Nazis. Yes, as Churchill would have said, great man, up until about 1945, and then we didn't want him anymore. Boo and hiss. Yes, anyway, leaving that aside, I did notice with the royals on the balcony that there are a whole bunch of them in their medals and their uniforms, etc., including one particular prince who is probably, let's face it, most famous for, well, not being in the armed services for long. Anyway, leaving that aside, there were two royals who actually had been shot at in combat, but they weren't there. I'm quite convinced somewhere along the line there's a metaphor for that. Yes. Anyways, talking of looking backwards, as I do believe I was, briefly, yes, looking backwards, you may recall a time way back in about 2020 when the right-wing commentators that are, well, the bedrock of our society and certainly the bedrock of VE celebrations, were telling us that they just didn't see race. And there was that government report into institutional racism which told us there wasn't any such thing. Hooray for that. And they were forever quoting MLK. Yeah, that famous quote about the content of a person's character rather than the colour of their skin. And they were most insistent that we did have to do that. And that got me thinking to, well, now when this very same people are arguing, well, something else entirely, aren't they? Yes, they're arguing that in fact we do need to look at, well, not the content of someone's character, but indeed the colour of their skin, or where they go and worship and on what day. Yes, we had a very, 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 very long thread from Connor Tomlinson about all the ways that brown people and people who aren't Catholic like him are very, very, very bad, and it was supported, I did notice in some detail, by Rupert Lowe MP, and that got me thinking about the whole identitarian thing that they very much like to, well, sort of wear whenever it's comfortable, don't they? Yes, I mean, it's the rest of us that are into those bad identity politics, but, you know, they'll kind of dip their toe in it when it's convenient, like, well, just now, yes. Never mind having principles, we'll just ditch them and hope you don't notice. Well, unfortunately, I do. I do have a sort of Winston Smith memory of these things. Yes. So anyway, Connor Tomlinson and Rupert Lowe MP, that got me thinking about the nature of them. Not their characters, which I'm sure they're fine, upstanding individuals, of course they are, but the very essence of who they are in terms of, well, you know, where they come from, what their genitalia is, and, you know, what religion they are. Because, let's face it, I mean, you know, if we listen to J.K. Rowling and Sex Matters and the rest of the kind of turfy anti-trans brigade, we all know that men are intrinsically dangerous, especially if they're wearing a dress, yes. And I have come to the conclusion that, like it or not, Connor Tomlinson and Rupert Lowe are, in fact, hiding dangly bits in their slacks. Yes, which makes them intrinsically dangerous by that logic, doesn't it? Well, probably not. They probably feel quite insulted by that. But why would they? Let's face it, we can lump people in together, can't we? Yes. And then that got me thinking on a deeper level about people's cultures, because, of course, Connor Tomlinson is a very keen Roman Catholic. And, well, where to begin with Roman Catholicism and sexual problems with children, eh? Now, I'm not saying that Connor Tomlinson is anything like that at all, but let's face it, it's a culture, isn't it? It's a culture whereby these things are, well, just hidden by the establishment and have been for decades and decades and decades. Awful, awful, awful. Need to address that. And, you know, Connor might say, well, that wasn't me or anything to do with me, but let's face it, that's the culture he lives in, isn't it? Yes. And Rupert Lowe MP. Now, during the last Parliament, if you look at the stats, they weren't well publicised at the time because of the MSM and etc., bad media. But basically, towards the end of the last Parliament, roughly speaking, 9% of all MPs had been accused of sexual misconduct, ranging from harassment through rape to, well, as we well know by a recent by-election that's going to be coming up, actual child sexual assault. So that's MPs for you. Now, Rupert Lowe might say, oh, well, you know, I just happen to be an MP and I need to be judged by the content of my character, but I think he lives in a culture, obviously, patently, where statistically these people are very dangerous and would need to be protected from, well, him, presumably, don't we? No, of course not, because that would just be me making up a stupid argument and lumping people in together who have done nothing wrong. I will leave that, of course, to Connor Tomlinson and Rupert Lowe and the rest of them. Yeah, all those people that seem to be arguing, that we need to keep people, separate because, they are dangerous. Yes, I mean, we used to have those kind of arguments in the past, didn't we? I mean, you can think about, the Jim Crow laws and the southern states and all the that wasn't such a good example, was it? But what about South Africa with apartheid? No, that's not such a good one either. Well, Israel then, because it's a democracy with... maybe not, eh? See, there's an inherent problem when you lump people together and call them bad. Because, it doesn't mean that you're going to end up 80 years later with people standing on a balcony celebrating your demise. But it's on the road, guys, isn't it? I mean, we already are several lines into the First They Came For poem. You may have noticed that. Yes. As that generation dies, as literally the last people who came out of the camps as children die off, it appears that other people have decided that other children's lives aren't really worth anything. My clock is ticking noisily in the background, and I'm very, very deeply aware that each time it ticks, people in Gaza have even less food, and there is nothing in the British press about it at all. Anyway, do have a lovely beginning to the week, even though it's Tuesday. Enjoy.